said, don't try to rule the world, try to win the hearts, and every person around you will support you in what you do. This is the true manifestation of being successful. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I'm Manvi Saraswat. Welcome you all in today's lecture, History of Delhi University Part 1, hosted by History Society Sakshay and IQAC Internal Quality Assurance Cell. As University of Delhi marks its centenary celebration for completing 100 years of academic excellence, more than 4 lakh students every year compete for its 70,000 seats. The university had a significant part to play in the Indian independence movement as well, and it had stood witness to several landmark moments in its own and Indian history. So now moving ahead, I would like to invite our respected guest, our teacher in charge, Dr. Pramod sir, to please share some valuable words with us.
हेलो मानवी, आप लोग के साथ जुड़ के बड़ा अच्छा लग रहा है। और आपको मैं बताऊं कि ये जो हिस्ट्री यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ दिल्ली की है, ये प्लैटिनम जुबली सेलिब्रेशन पे 1995 में लिखने का दायित्व दिया गया था प्रोफेसर अपर्णा बासु को। और फॉर्चुनेटली मैंने ही उनको एसोसिएट किया था इस प्रोजेक्ट में। तो ये जो दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी की हिस्ट्री है, इसमें कहीं ना कहीं मैं जुड़ा रहा हूँ 95 से। और मनीष से कल पता चला कि ये हमारे लाइब्रेरी में भी है ये वॉल्यूम। तो आप लोग इसको अभी जब टाइम मिले तो पढ़ें। और आज का जो स्पीकर हैं उनको मेरी ओर से हार्दिक शुभकामना कि वो अपना जो व्याख्यान देना है वो दें। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much, sir. But don't you ever wonder that what makes Delhi University, one of 40 central universities, such a big draw for students from across India? Could it be its history, or is it the range of courses that it offers? The reason could be its location in the national capital. To tell you more about such information, I would like to call our speaker, Miss Archana Bharti.
Thank you, Manvi. Am I audible?
Yes, Archana, you are.
Delhi, as one of the oldest cities of India, contains a vast amount of history. And of course, the University of Delhi is no less than that. पटेल चेस के लेन्स में जाते हुए नॉर्थ कैंपस को देखते हुए आई फर्स्ट सॉ द ग्लिम्स ऑफ मिरांडा हाउस एंड उसी के पास आपको दौलत राम एंड SRCC भी दिखता है. वॉकिंग फॉरवर्ड यू विल रीच द गेट्स ऑफ रामजस कॉलेज एंड थोड़े दूर और जाने पर आपको दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी के सबसे पुराने कॉलेजेस स्टीफेंस एंड हिंदू कॉलेज एक दूसरे के सामने दिखते हैं. बिटवीन इट्स इंसेप्शन विथ 3 colleges and 750 students in 1922 to its 90 colleges and 86 departments today with over 6 lakh students from across India, and not only India, foreign countries as well. The 100-year story of the University of Delhi is deeply intertwined with the history and evolution of the city itself. इस संडे मई 1 को दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी marked the beginning of its centenary celebrations, and so I, Archana Bharti, a student of Shamlal College Evening DU, welcomes you all in this celebration with a talk on history of Delhi University Part 1. मेरे टॉक का ऑब्जेक्टिव बहुत सिंपल है. It is to make you aware the glorious history of our university so that we as Delhi University students take utmost pride in that particular fact. मैं अपने टॉक में दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी के हिस्ट्री from its founding days to the day that it celebrated its Silver Jubilee, that is during independence, वहां तक अपने पार्ट 1 लेक्चर में बताऊंगी. Delhi has been a center of education for a long time, for centuries. During the period of Muslim rule, it had been the intellectual center of India. The walls of Delhi University have seen it all, from the bitter tears of colonization to the relieved ones during independence. The university came into being 100 years ago in 1922. The idea of a University of Delhi was first proposed around 1911 to 12 when it was decided to transfer the capital of India from Calcutta to Delhi. But this idea को पूरे होने में एक decade लग गया. At this time, Delhi had two colleges, St. Stephen's, founded by the Cambridge Mission in 1882, and Hindu College, which was started in 1899. Both the colleges were the result of private effort, but received grants and aid from the government. DU began with just two faculties, arts and science, and 8 departments, English, history, economics, Sanskrit, Arabic, Persian, physics, and chemistry. The initial proposal had been to establish a government college. As Henry Sharp, जो कि एक education secretary थे, वो बोलते हैं that he felt that educational activity in the capital was likely to increase. However, ये पूरा scheme जो है World War I के outbreak की वजह से 1914 में रुक जाता है. In September 1918, as the First World War end होने वाला था, Henry Sharp once again revived the scheme of a government college. After this, a committee consisting of Sharp, the Chief Commissioner of Delhi, the Chief Engineer, and the Principal of St. Stephen's was formed to draw up detailed plans for the college. And as if to support the ventures of this establishment, the report of the Calcutta University Commission, set up under the chairmanship of Sir Michael Sadler, who was Vice Chancellor of Leeds University, ये publish होता है. The Sadler report recommended that Calcutta University as well as बाकी इंडिया में जो universities हैं, which were affiliating and examining bodies, they should be modeled on the London University and should be reorganized and decentralized. Indian universities should be of a unitary teaching and residential type. Following this recommendation, the universities of Punjab and Allahabad commenced to reshape their constitutions. As the Delhi colleges were affiliated to the University of Punjab, the government of India felt that an independent university should be provided for the students of the capital city. Colleges in Delhi were understandably not enthusiastic about a new government college. The education department's idea was to amalgamate Hindu college with the government college and to convert the former into a hostel. And of course, Hindu college को ये बिल्कुल पसंद नहीं आता है. And so did Ramjas College. And और एक चौथा कॉलेज लेडी हार्डिंग मेडिकल कॉलेज जो कि 1916 में एस्टेब्लिश किया था. And St. Stephen's also feared competition from a government college. Faced with this opposition from the colleges and in view of the Calcutta University Commission's report, the Education Department abandoned the idea of a government college and instead pleaded for the establishment of a unitary teaching university. The arguments put forward for this were numerous and quite persuasive. Sir Muhammad Shafi, the new education member, argued that from the educational point of view, Delhi का एक बहुत unique position होता है. Between Allahabad and Lahore, कोई government university नहीं थी. Delhi was at least as big as a town and a larger educational center than either Dhaka or Lucknow, both of which had already got universities. Another reason why Delhi was considered the best place to build a university was because it was a large trading center. And as a faculty of commerce, ये बहुत important, बहुत immense help होता to the people of that area. Shafi stated that the establishment of such a university at Delhi would make the task of Punjab and Allahabad for university reforms easier. And और भी बहुत सारे reasons हैं जिसकी वजह से Delhi was the most suitable place to carry out the experiment of the new reforms. पहला, the affiliation of Delhi colleges to Punjab University made it complicated to make any reforms in the colleges and in the university, Punjab University. Secondly, Delhi being a small province, it was an ideal place for carrying out the recommendation of the Calcutta University Commission. And lastly, the separation of secondary and intermediate from university education presented considerable difficulties in Bengal and other presidencies. But ऐसी कोई भी difficulty Delhi में नहीं थी. So in these circumstances, it was the plain duty of the government to set up a unitary teaching and residential university at Delhi. The commission appointed by the government had a duty to show the country its readiness to discharge the obligations. And इसी चीज को मोहम्मद शफी कोट करते हुए बोलते हैं, we owe to ourselves as well as to the Indian peoples in relation to university education. And somewhere or the other, हम दिल्ली इस चीज को, द एस्टेब्लिशमेंट ऑफ दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी को एक वेपन की तरह यूज किया गया against the charges made by the Calcutta University that the government of India at that time was allegedly hostile to the spread of higher education in India. And well, यहाँ पे हमें देखने को मिलता है that education and politics go hand in hand. Muhammad Shafi himself said that any further delay in establishing a university would be impolitic and might prove dangerous. The foundation of a government university was sure to kill the schemes of the non-cooperators. And don't you think ये बहुत interesting है कि जिस दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी को we pride so much for ourselves, it was used as a means to propagate the idea of colonialism, and rather than a true holy sanctuary of education, it was used as a means of British interest. Establishing it was used to show that while the non-cooperators merely indulged in vague talk of establishing national universities, the government was earnest in its desire to supply Indian educational needs. Moreover, it would meet the criticism that the government, while spending on the army and defense, was starving Indian education. But जैसा कि हम देख सकते हैं, Indians ने इस स्कीम को अपने लिए काफी अच्छे से यूज किया, and now we have surpassed the limits of education placed by Britishers. In December 1919, the Chief Commissioner of Delhi, after prolonged discussion, unanimously resolved that a unitary teaching university should be established in Delhi. The government scheme regarding Delhi University consisted of two parts. Pehla, provisional, and then permanent. The provisional one was that the existing colleges with their hostels would remain in their present quarters in the city. Ramjas would become an intermediate college, while Stephens and Hindu would, as far as possible and desirable, have common classes for graduate teaching. And some more professors would be appointed for special tutoring in honors and postgraduate work. इसका immediate cost calculate किया गया था to be 75,000 rupees. Now let's come to the permanent scheme. The permanent scheme envisaged that the colleges would ultimately become intermediate colleges, that the college authorities would build hostels or halls on the Regina side in which students would receive tutorial assistance, and that government would build university buildings, laboratories, lecture halls, and so much. And they will also pay for the central teaching. इसका total cost जो estimate किया गया था, that was 34 lakh rupees recurring and 2 lakh rupees non-recurring initially, with this rising to 4 lakh rupees later. Some 30,000 rupees from fees would be an offset. But ये idea इतना easy नहीं था. सबसे बड़ा hurdle जो यहाँ पे establishment के time face किया जाता है, वो है lack of funds. DU was beset with troubles in these early years. In her essay, The Foundation and Early History of the University, in the volume Delhi Through the Ages, historian Aparna Basu wrote about the difficulties the university faced during its establishment. The Delhi University Bill was introduced in the Imperial Legislative Assembly on 16 January 1922 by the Education Secretary Sharp. Its objective was the establishment of a unitary teaching and residential university at Delhi. Delhi was considered a suitable center since it was the winter capital of the government of India, and इसके पास already 3 arts college and Lady Hardinge medical colleges थे. And these colleges, बाद में जाके, it was very much likely that they would be disaffiliated from the Punjab University after the reorganization of the Punjab University. Delhi University was to be under the control of the government of India, and the Governor General was to become the Chancellor. A Vice Chancellor was to be appointed by the Chancellor. The general bodies would be a court, an executive council, and an academic council with faculties, जो कि आज भी maintain किया जाता है. After the discussions with the principals of the colleges, the Governor General in Council directed that the act should come into force on 1 May 1922, and the notification to this effect was issued on 6 April 1922. On the same day, a notification was also issued regarding the appointment of Hari Singh Gaur, a distinguished barrister at law from Nagpur, as the first vice chancellor of Delhi University. The university started functioning with two faculties, arts and science, and बाद में जाके in 1924 एक law faculty भी establish किया गया. In the science faculty, there were two departments, physics and chemistry. The arts faculty में English, history, economics, Sanskrit, Arabic and Persian के departments थे. There were 3 recognized colleges teaching up to the degree standard and 4 intermediate colleges. The 3 arts colleges had by now disaffiliated from the University of Punjab and had become constituent colleges of Delhi University. And now, Delhi University started with a group of 303 registered students with the fees of rupees 7,000. The university was housed in rented buildings in different parts of the old city. And अभी बहुत टाइम था जब दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी को अपना फाइनल ग्रैंड स्ट्रक्चर मिलने वाला था. During the proposals back in 1915-16, the government had agreed to erect university buildings, including laboratories, lecture halls, libraries, and other facilities at Trizana site. And in the plans for New Delhi, plots were allotted to the university. Now, let's come to the another aspect of my talk. We have got a place and we have got a structure. But establishing a university definitely takes a lot more than this. Delhi University, as it developed, was neither residential nor unitary. It was like any other Indian university, mainly an affiliating and examining body. It functioned largely as a collection of associated colleges loosely federated together. The university undertook no teaching except in law and science, and in the later, there was no provision for honors teaching till 1942. The only teaching done in the arts faculty was in economics. And वो भी H.L. Chablani, who was the first student in economics, इनके death के बाद ये खत्म हो जाता है. Delhi University was unique among universities in that it had no salaried professors. For the first 2 decades, postgraduate teaching was done in the college mainly by college teachers. And as a result, the colleges largely control the drawing up of curricula and the conduct of examinations. So basically, यूनिवर्सिटी के पास से ज्यादा कॉलेजेस के पास अपने अपने राइट्स थे एंड द कॉलेजेस वर नॉट बाउंड दैट मच टू द यूनिवर्सिटी. द यूनिवर्सिटी इन फैक्ट कंसिस्टेड ओनली ऑफ द वाइस चांसलर एंड द रजिस्ट्रार एंड वो भी बार बार चेंज होते रह रहे थे. एंड नाउ we are coming upon the founding of the administrative structure that we see in Delhi University now. The unitary Delhi University is now going to be federal, which means ये यूनिवर्सिटी अब पूरे इंडिया के लिए ओपन हो जाएगा. So let's venture forward with me to see how this came to be. At that time, Delhi University had failed to receive any substantial measure of public confidence because of competition and rivalry between the colleges and because of internal strife and factionalism in university affairs. As a result, the university played a very small part in the life of the capital, and पूरे इंडिया की लाइफ में देखा जाए then there was no part of the university. It did not attract undergraduate and postgraduate students from other parts of India, and इसकी खुद की academic society भी बहुत थोड़ी सी थी. It remained scarcely known outside Delhi, and even there it inspired little confidence. And thus it was realized that the university would develop not on unitary but on federal lines. But certain conditions were considered necessary for the evolution of such a university. First, the university and its constituent colleges had to be situated in close proximity to each other. Second, each college had to be actively engaged in work of a university standard. Third, Each constituent college had to be willing to forego some measure of autonomy in order to share in and contribute to the life of university as a whole. And fourth, the actual teaching should, as far as possible, be provided by the constituent colleges under the guidance of the university. सो अभी जो हम स्ट्रक्चर देखते हैं एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव स्ट्रक्चर यूनिवर्सिटी का, वो कैसे फॉर्म हुआ ये आप क्लियरली यहाँ पे नोटिस कर सकते हो बिकॉज ऑफ दीज डेवलपमेंट्स वी सी स्ट्रक्चर जो अभी हमारे सामने है. These conditions long remained impossible to achieve, mainly because of a lack of permanent site where the university and the colleges could be located. Until 1933, when the old Visregal Lodge and estate was made available for university and collegiate purposes. This change in site, interestingly, एक major academic structure change के साथ coincide कर जाता है. The Academic Council of Delhi University considered the proposals for a federal type of university from November 1934 to January 1935 and made its recommendation, which were adopted with some modifications by the Executive Council in April 1935. It was agreed that the actual teaching should, as far as possible, be furnished by constituent colleges under the guidance of the university, and that teaching should ordinarily be provided by constituent colleges in close cooperation with one another. The university would supplement, not supplant, the teaching of the colleges, and that mainly in subjects which are beyond the normal scope of colleges or in which centralized teaching is advisable. इसका मतलब ये है that colleges and the university will aid the colleges, but the constituent colleges were allowed to work separately. Simple terms में बोले, then even though family members are working elsewhere, then also वो एक family के अंदर यानी banner of DU उसके अंदर साथ में जुड़े हुए हैं. एंड ये अभी हम देखते हैं कि जो अंडर ग्रेजुएट की डिग्रीज होती है इसमें जितने भी डिसीजंस लिए जाते हैं वो बेसिकली कॉलेज लेता है, बट अगर हम पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट डिग्रीज को देखें देन इट कम्स अंडर डिपार्टमेंट, इट कम्स अंडर द यूनिवर्सिटी rather than the college itself. Now let's come upon the person who truly made a drastic change in the fundamental structure of Delhi University. In 1938, Sir Maurice Guare, the first Chief Justice of the Federal Court, was appointed Vice Chancellor. And ये बहुत historic moment होने वाला था दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी की history के लिए. On his first visit to the old Visregal Lodge, the new Vice Chancellor found that walls were stained was coming off them. The roofs and ceilings were decayed. The library was a disgrace. The buildings had decayed quickly, its wooden floors sagging, the plaster peeling off the roofs and walls. The science laboratories were housed partly in the university building and partly in the old Visregal kitchen. And university के पास कोई play fields नहीं थी, libraries नहीं थी. The university has made no progress except in law and undergraduate science teaching. Sir Maurice conceived of Delhi University as a miniature Oxbridge. He dreamt of the cluster of small residential colleges around the core of the university. And ये चीज अभी हमें नॉर्थ कैंपस में दिखती है जहाँ पे different colleges, Stephens, Hindu, Ramjas, all are there जो कि यूनिवर्सिटी के पास में है. In August 1939, Sir Maurice Guare submitted a memorandum to the government of India, pleading for an all-India university for Delhi. Delhi would be an intellectual and cultural center for the whole country. He pointed out the advantages which would follow from this, especially in view of the stage reached in India's political evolution. He argued that the success or failure of the University of Delhi would affect the prestige of the government of India. It was better to contemplate its painless extinction than to allow it to continue in its present state. Sir Maurice thought that it would be a tragedy if, as India, जो कि और से ज़्यादा अब अपने आप को control करने लगी थी, we were becoming more and more independent, and as Delhi was attracting to itself all those elements, national and international, which were to be found in the capital of a great country, The university were never to rise above a provincial level and were even to fall below it. He envisaged Delhi University as a national university, which would exercise an immense and wholly beneficial influence. And he could conceive of no single instrument more apt to produce a unifying effect in the moral and intellectual as distinct from the political sphere. The government of India accepted Vice Chancellor's scheme and decided initially to make a non-recurring grant of 8 lakhs rupees spread over a period of 5 years. इसके बाद approximately half was used for assisting colleges to move to the university side. The government also decided to increase the recurring grant to the university and इसका amount 25,000 rupees per year count किया गया था, rising to a minimum of 1 lakh in the 4th year over and above its present grant. This would enable the university to initiate a scheme for the appointment of professors, readers, and postgraduate research scholars. Sir John Sargent, जो कि एक एजुकेशनल कमिश्नर थे, he praised the vice chancellor and उनके लिए बोलते हैं that the vice chancellor had made out a very strong case in a most persuasive and convincing manner. While circumstances did not allow Delhi University to develop entirely along the lines that Sir Maurice had envisaged, various measures he initiated had a lasting impact. He introduced the 3-year BA and BSc pass and honours degree course, which were drawn up by the facilities concerned and passed by the Academic Council and the Executive Council in April 1943. This was to enable the academically ambitious to specialize in one subject and thus to prepare them for postgraduate work. And इसीलिए हम देखते हैं that there is a high standard of instruction performance at the postgraduate level in Delhi University, because Delhi University में जिस level की training दी जाती है अंडर ग्रेजुएट्स को, उससे डबल आपको ट्रेनिंग दी जाती है पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट में. The 3-year degree course अभी तो बहुत सारे यूनिवर्सिटीज में एक्सेप्ट कर लिया गया है, but at that time Delhi University was the first one to establish it. It was during the 40s that a number of professors and readers were appointed. In August 1943, the university was able to institute a readership in English for a period of 4 years through the generosity of Sir Shri Ram. Dr. S. Dutt, formerly principal of Ramjas College, was appointed reader in English. Dr. S. N. Sen, keeper of records of the government of India, was appointed professor of history in the same year. And Dr. S. Kothari was appointed reader in physics, whereas Dr. B. N. Ganguly, reader in economics. Like Sir Asutosh Mukherjee before him, Sir Maurice searched for talent all over the country, and among those whom he brought to Delhi were V.K. R.V. Rao, R.U. Singh, T.R. Seshdhari, and P. Maheshwari. Sir Maurice was keen on improving the status of teachers, and उनकी salaries and उनके staff के लिए जो provisions दिए जाने थे, उनका special ध्यान रखा जाता था. He believed that the kingpin of the education system are truly the teachers. Delhi University teachers even had higher salaries than anywhere else in India. College principals were paid not less than 750 rupees per month. Senior teachers 300 to 500 rupees a month, and junior teachers 150 to 250 rupees. As a result, Delhi was able to attract good teachers. A teacher appointed in any of the constituent colleges was deemed a university teacher for the purpose of service conditions, pay scales, and various other privileges enjoyed by teachers directly appointed by the university. And ये tradition आज भी हमें देखने को मिलता है. The library, which in its early years suffered from lack of attention space, now started improving. Dr. S. N. Ranganathan, then librarian of Madras University, was brought in to reorganize the Delhi University Library. The renovation was achieved with a donation of 25,000 rupees from G.D. Birla. The library's new building, however, opened only in 1958. और भी बहुत सारे एंट्रेंस स्कॉलरशिप्स को इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया था to attract students from different parts of the country. Honors and postgraduate classes were started in science in July 1942, and teaching in science subjects was done entirely by the university departments. Extension lectures were introduced where renowned figures such as E.M. Foster, Homi Bhabha, Eve Joliot Curie were invited to speak. The Delhi University Act was amended in 1943 to provide for 3-year degree courses and to make provision for a full-time paid vice chancellor. In 1933, only the university offices had shifted to the old Visceral Lodge. A few years later, the library moved. Sites were offered to the constituent colleges, but the construction of buildings was delayed because of the Second World War. The first to move to the new site was St. Stephen's College in 1942, followed by Hindu College, Ramjas College, and the College of Commerce. The moving in of these colleges was the beginning of the growth of the university campus. The university celebrated its Silver Jubilee in May 1947. The Silver Jubilee year saw the country attain its independence. The university celebrated Independence Day with Professor V.K.R.V. Rao hoisting the national flag on the university main building and Dr. Radhakrishnan hoisting it on the law school building. As a special convocation held on 7 March 1948, honorary degrees were conferred on Jawaharlal Nehru, Zakir Hussain, Maulana Azad, John Sargent, Rajkumari Amrit Kaur, and Lord Mountbatten, among others. The large-scale increase in population after partition naturally changed the character of the city and had repercussions on the university. To accommodate displaced students from West Punjab, the university was obliged to adopt some new regulations and relax some existing ones. हिंदू कॉलेज, रामजस कॉलेज, इंद्रप्रस्थ कॉलेज सभी ने सेकंड शिफ्ट्स लगाए एंड बहुत सारे न्यू कॉलेजेस को एस्टैब्लिश किया गया आफ्टर द पार्टीशन टू मीट द डिमांड ऑफ न्यू स्टूडेंट्स. Hansraj College was started by the managing committee of DAV College Lahore. Postgraduate classes from Punjab University were taken over by Delhi University, and evening colleges in the arts faculty building were started, while undergraduate classes were shifted to Central College, which was taken over by Christian Mission and called Nirmala College. इस कॉलेज को बाद में किरोरी माल ट्रस्ट टेक ओवर करता है and this college becomes Kirori Mal College in 1954. As colleges were added over the year, some of the most recently founded were intended to cater to students living far from the center of the university center. And इसमें हम बहुत सारे colleges के नाम दे सकते हैं like Aditi Mahavidyalaya in Bhavna, Deen Dayal Upadhyay College in Dwarka, Keshav Mahavidyalaya in Pitampur, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar College in Yamuna Vihar, and many more like this. In 1946, the departments of anthropology, botany, library science, modern European languages, and geology was started. The faculties of agriculture and forestry and technology began in 1947, and social science faculty in 1949. 1948 में मिरांडा हाउस जो कि सेकंड विमेंस कॉलेज था कैंपस में उसे एस्टैब्लिश किया गया एंड इसका नाम सर मॉरिस ग्वेल्स की फेवरेट शेक्सपियरियन कैरेक्टर एंड उनकी डॉटर के नाम पे रखा गया था. The old Anglo-Arabic College, Delhi's oldest college, was reopened as Delhi College. The foundation stone of arts faculty building was laid by Lord Mountbatten in 1948. The Central Institute of Education was started at the same time, and the decision was taken to develop the Department of Economics into Delhi School of Economics. Jubilee Hall, a residential hostel for postgraduates and law students, was inaugurated and the tutorial building was completed. Delhi University, which had made little progress in its first 20 years, 1947 के बाद develop होने लगा and काफी rapidly develop होने लगा. It was recognized as a central university and started receiving generous grants from the University Grants Commission, UGC. It is also fortunate that Delhi has perhaps the strongest school system in the country. The growth of the University of Delhi has been linked with the growth of Delhi, not only as the political and administrative capital of India, but also as the center of culture, sports, and arts in the country. And as Lord Reading rightly predicted, if environment has indeed its alleged influence, Delhi University should produce scholars, for around it are abundant signs of cloisters, where the feet of other scholars in other centuries have trod. In the vestiges of former kingdoms and empires, we see a Delhi on all sides. There is priceless material for those who wish to learn of the past, of its art, its history, its literature, and its civilization. Thank you.
Thank you, Archana. Very good talk, and I hope everyone gets something about Delhi University. Now, I'm calling प्रोफेसर एस एम झा सर. मैं अभी एस एम झा सर को बुलाऊंगा, वो हमारे साथ हैं फॉर्चुनेटली अभी इस मीटिंग में. और सर के बारे में है कि सर दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी के पहले कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट कॉलेज सेंट स्टीफेंस के स्टूडेंट थे. पहले रेजिडेंशियल हॉस्टल ग्वायर हॉल के हॉस्टलर थे, और आज़ादी के बाद पहले कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट कॉलेज देशबंधु कॉलेज के टीचर हैं. So I welcome Professor S.M. Jha sir. So give us your valuable ideas. Professor Jha.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you, Archana. Thank you. 1947 तक आपने कवर किया और दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी को डिफरेंट मोड में प्रेजेंट किया. मैं सिर्फ एक दो लाइन यह कहना चाह रहा हूं कि डाइवर्सिटीज, दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी ऑल्सो रिप्रेजेंट्स मेनी डाइवर्सिटी. पर्टिकुलरली जब मैं 1981-82 में सेंटिनरी ईयर स्टीफेंस बना रहा था, उस समय मैं कॉलेज में था और उस समय कॉलेज का सेंट स्टीफेंस कॉलेज का हिस्ट्री लिखा गया था. उस समय जो मुझे एक्सपीरियंस था वह मैं सिर्फ शेयर कर रहा हूं कि स्टीफेंस कॉलेज में अकॉर्डिंग टू सोसाइटी, अकॉर्डिंग टू पॉलिटिकल नेचर ऑफ नेशन, ये सारा कुछ रिफ्लेक्ट हो रहा था. गदर पार्टी का फाउंडर स्टीफेंस में थे. तो दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी भी अपने 100 इयर्स के यात्रा में इस तरह के बहुत सारे पॉलिटिकल सोशल मूवमेंट्स को देखे हुए हैं. हिस्ट्री का मतलब सिर्फ मोन्यूमेंट्स न हो, सिर्फ फैकल्टी का बनना न हो. अलग अलग कॉलेज और ओवरऑल दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी इस नेशनल मूवमेंट में, 100 इयर्स के नेशनल मूवमेंट में, सोशल मूवमेंट में किस तरह से शामिल रहा है, किस तरह से कंट्रीब्यूट किया है. नॉट ओनली टीचर्स, इवन द स्टूडेंट्स हैव पार्टिसिपेटेड इन सोशल मूवमेंट्स. मुझे याद है 67-68 में नक्सलबारी मूवमेंट में स्टीफेंस के स्टूडेंट्स और टीचर्स शामिल हुए थे. तो बहुत लंबा इतिहास है. मैं सिर्फ अलग अलग आयाम, डायमेंशन जो है दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी का, वह चाहता हूं कि जब कभी मनीष इसके सेकेंड पार्ट को ऑर्गेनाइज करेंगे, उसमें दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी का 100 इयर्स का सोशल हिस्ट्री, पॉलिटिकल हिस्ट्री, उसका कंट्रीब्यूशन भी शामिल किया जाए. थैंक यू मनीष, थैंक यू अर्चना, थैंक यू.
डेफिनेटली सर.
सर मैं एक इंफॉर्मेशन आपको ऐड करना चाहूंगा आज के बारे में कि डीयू प्रोफेसर इलेक्टेड टू अमेरिकन एकेडमी ऑफ साइंस एंड आर्ट्स एंड साइंसेस, वो प्रोफेसर हैं एम के पंडित. और इसमें इस ग्रुप में नोटेबल जो मेंबर्स पहले हैं शामिल किए गए हैं अमेरिकन एकेडमी ऑफ आर्ट्स एंड साइंस में, बेंजामिन फ्रैंकलिन, अलेक्जेंडर ग्राहम बेल, विंस्टन चर्चिल, नेल्सन मंडेला एंड गैब्रियल गार्सिया मार्केज अमॉन्ग अदर्स. मतलब इतने बड़ी हस्ती जिसमें शामिल किए गए हैं. हमारे डीयू के प्रोफेसर एम के पंडित भी अब उस क्लब के मेंबर हो गए हैं. तो ये भी एक डीयू के लिए बहुत ही गर्व का विषय है. आज जब हम 100 साल मना रहे हैं, सेंटेनरी ईयर मना रहे हैं, तो हमें जो लोग भी हम लोग डीयू से जुड़े हुए, चाहे हमारे स्टूडेंट्स हैं, हम टीचर्स हैं, तो ये हमारे लिए सर मैं मानता हूं कि बड़ा ही ये प्राउड मोमेंट है.
थैंक यू सर. प्रीति मैम वांट टू से समथिंग. प्रीति मैम.
Respected Pramod sir, Jha sir, Manish and dear students, I am sorry I could not join on time because I went for my booster dose. So, but I really wanted to listen to what Archana has to say. We've been reading so many things about our university, but from the students' mouth, it becomes, really enriching, refreshing. That youth also is getting aware of where they are, where will they belong to in the future. It's very nice, and the idea behind, I know it's Manish, it's yours. So I must congratulate the Department of History, Pramod sir and Manish, both of you, and dear students who will, gradually, eventually will be reading those papers which they have researched upon on the Delhi University. I congratulate sir once again, Pramod sir,
Thank you.
Thank you,
Manish.
ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Thank you.
Thank you
Any
for
other
giving me
students?
chance to speak.